Now, the reason this is interesting is that by your answering these questions, you're beginning to know something about the differences in the way the rock behaves and the way a human behaves, to a point where you realize that there is something about perceiving, whether through the eyes or through the ears, that makes a human form move in ways that rock doesn't move. And therefore, there are elements in the system that move differently according to getting input, that not getting input would not generate motion in the same system. So the whole universe is full of things that move differently according to the kinds of input it gets or doesn't get. Does that make sense to you?
Maybe that last statement was a little cloudy for me. What would you
Okay, let me ask
specify?
it in single Socratic steps, because I was deviating from that.
Okay.
A whole lot of forms don't move in any other way than the way they are predicted to move, like planets, the sun. Do they move according to what they perceive, if they could perceive?
I'm kind of...
Speak from your knowledge. The table, okay, let's go to the table. Does the table ever move unless it is moved by somebody else? Does a rock ever move unless it's moved by somebody else? Does a leaf, once it has fallen, ever move unless something moves it? Does it ever move on its own energy? On the other hand, living creatures, do they move on their own energy? So what makes them move differently, and what determines the direction in which they move?
That's a good question.
They move according to what they experience. They move towards food. They move away from predators that might eat them. Would that be accurate?
Well, trees can't necessarily do that, but...
Do trees lean? What do they lean towards? And so would you say they are moving towards nourishment? So are trees also living? So we have noticed that there are forms that move by themselves, and there are forms that don't move by themselves. Is that accurate?
Right, and the distinction is life.
And what is the characteristic that makes life different from the others, other than its perception?
Observation.
It's motion. It moves in a particular way, and the particular way it moves is determined by what it perceives.
Which is the observation.
That's it. But again, it's not moving equally towards everything it observes. It moves away from some things it observes, and it moves towards something it observes. And the difference is, you might say, that's what emotions are. Emotions are the attraction and repulsion that arises from something being observed by its evoking a desire to go closer to it or away from it. If the observer wants to go closer towards it, there is a liking. If there is a moving away from it, there is a disliking. So, thus we can begin to see that observing is a function that differentiates some forms from the others, and the forms that are able to move according to what they observe, they are also able to have emotion based on what they perceive, where a positive emotion is feeling attracted towards what they observe, and a negative emotion is feeling repulsed from what they are observing.